oluyor da Sorry, everybody. I apologize.
Every time.
My technology said 155. That's not what happened.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to thank you all coming. I'd like to call order for Thursday, May 15th, 2025, the First Public Hydrogen Authority. Board Secretary, can we have a roll call, please?
Board Member Peacock,
Here.
Board Member Madrano,
Here.
Board Member Hertzberg,
Here.
Board Member Vasquez,
Here.
Board Member Brower,
Here.
Vice Chair Ruggles,
Here.
Chair Paris. We have a quorum.
All right. Can everybody please stand and join me in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hard to move. Consent calendar? Is there any items on the consent calendar we would like to pull for discussion? Maybe possibly items between 1 and 4, possibly we were maybe talking about the meeting times?
I'd like to pull item 3.
Okay. Any other items the board would like to pull for discussion? We can go ahead and discuss item 3 then, revising the meeting schedule time, and do you have any other questions maybe for staff about meetings? So maybe we
Is
get a
there
staff
going to be an explanation?
Yeah, maybe we get a staff report too. I think we would discuss changing the time.
So our last board meeting, we'd asked what works for everybody from a timing perspective. And some of the feedback we got is the day works and the time didn't. So we adjusted the time from 3 o'clock to 2 o'clock on the same day. In this decision as well, you're going to be moving next month's meeting from the 19th to the 18th one time. That's for Juneteenth. So every June, it won't fall on Juneteenth, but Juneteenth is a national holiday. So we have to have a June meeting for some of the decisions that we're asking the board to take. So that is in this decision as well. So from now on, it'll be this day, the third Wednesday. Was it third Wednesday? Third Wednesday. Third Thursday of every month at 2. Now, Aura asked earlier about the remoting in decisions. So right now, and Allison, correct me if I'm wrong, we're required to have a quorum in one of each of those spots. So it's either a quorum in Lancaster or a quorum in Industy. Anybody can remote in after that, right? So we can have decisions made, and we need a quorum in one location in person. So the other
Not
three
quite,
members-
Jason. Not quite.
Oh, go ahead.
Not quite. If we know the location from which you're participating and it's publicly available and ADA compliant, and we put it on the agenda and post in that location, you can participate from a remote location so long as we have a quorum participating from within the boundaries of First Public. So that would include City of Lancaster, City of Industry, and the new water district whose name is escaping me. Roland,
Okay.
thank you.
Only on those vicinities you could call in.
You could.
That's where the quorum
That's
has
where
to
the
be.
quorum has to be. So then if you communicate ahead of time, then we can post your location you're going to be at to make sure that we accommodate that. And we've done it before with Bob, who's in Lancaster. We've done it before when he was in Sacramento, where we posted on the agenda that he was going to remote in, and he was able to do that there.
Question, if doing it remote, the posting, is there an advance timeframe?
Yes,
Is it-
72 hours in advance of a regular meeting, 24 for a special.
And that's at the location where the remote meeting would be?
Yes,
Where the person would be? Okay.
correct. So in a car, for example, wouldn't work. Places where you can't post in advance, maybe a hotel probably wouldn't work. Things like that.
I also heard ADA compliant,
Yes,
so got to watch out where you will be
correct.
for that as well. Okay.
Yeah, which is why using a city hall or Rolling Water District's conference rooms or the like might be a good idea because those locations are going to be ADA compliant.
What about a labor hall?
A labor hall, as long as it's within the jurisdictional boundaries, if we need you for quorum within the boundaries, if it's ADA compliant and publicly accessible and you can post the agenda, that's fine.
But I think, Allison, you said something, this is Josh Nelson from the City of Industry. I think you said something different than what we were talking about. The 4 don't necessarily have to be in the same physical location. You could have 2 in
Correct.
Lancaster and 2 in Industry, and that would still count as your 4 within the boundaries.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So,
That's what I
Yes.
was trying to-
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, so that's a little nuance there, but yeah. As long as
Yes.
it's within the boundaries, it doesn't have to be together. It
Right.
sounds like, right? Yeah,
As long
okay.
as we could have 1 in Roland, 2 in Industry and 2 in Lancaster, and we'd be more than set.
Well, Allison, I have some questions here from the 600 people here that followed me into this meeting here in Lancaster.
Yes, I'm
I
happy to
almost
answer
went
all
there,
of their
to be honest,
questions.
today.
I posted the meeting on my social media. A lot of people came.
I see that.
Okay, so everybody's good with the time? We all made it here? Besides police chases, we all
Traffic.
made it here?
Yeah.
Okay, there's no further discussion. Do we have any public comment, or do we have any speaker cards at any location for the consent calendar?
Lancaster has no speakers.
Okay, nothing online. All righty. So at this moment, time, can I have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, can we have a board secretary, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Chair, could you tell us who made the motion in the second? We can't quite tell from here.
I think that was, the motion was by Mr. Hertzberg?
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Hertzberg made the motion.
I second. Medrano.
Medrano with the second.
Thank you so much.
Board Member Peacock,
Aye.
Madrano,
Aye.
Hertzberg,
Aye.
Vasquez,
Aye.
Brower,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Ruggles.
Aye,
Motion carries.
Unanimously.
6-0. Thank you. So, new business, items 5 through 6. Do we have a staff report on item 5?
Yes, we'll get started, and we have Barbara, our treasurer, on the line, or in Lancaster as well, to answer any questions. So as you know, each year, we create a budget, and this will be our first budget as an organization. Well, let me clarify, we had a 6-month budget. This will be our first full budget as an organization. As a way of background, so July 1, we will transition not only staffing, all of our employees, as a result of a decision you made in consent calendar, to be an independent agency of, no longer associated with Lancaster. So this budget represents our budget. And if we can remind you a little bit too, we had a $10 million line of credit that we approved at last council meeting or last board meeting that we will ratify at our next board meeting in June. And the council will be taking that to their board, the city council of Lancaster will be taking that to their city council, I believe, next meeting as well. So from that standpoint, we're working off a $10 million budget or $10 million line of credit. And so this budget represents the funds that will be used from that opportunity. It is a $4.5 million budget we're presenting to you. It includes staff and salaries and benefits associated with those staff. So then we're looking at 6 staff members, which are the currently ones that we have now. That's we have 3 project managers, Alexis, which is the director, a COO, and myself, a CEO. So that covers that. So we're not asking for any additional staff in this budget. We are anticipating being able to, over the next phase of our operations, to allow for that work with the amount of staff that we have currently. We included in there all the necessary funds for legal services, staff or training, travel, the meetings and conferences, insurance, IT services, which we'll still be contracting with the city of Lancaster, the facilities that we have our offices at in Lancaster. And we do have some in there for capital projects because we are working on a couple small capital projects as demonstration sites, including fueling stations, mobile fueling stations, as well as off-grid facilities as demonstration sites so that we can showcase those as part of our marketing effort. We included in here all of our marketing effort as well. So we have a full budget and an opportunity to succeed with obviously the support of Lancaster and the mayor of Lancaster. What's key about this too is that, and we've shared this with the city of Lancaster as well, is that, you know, we are very cognizant of the funds, although this is $4.5 million we budgeted. If you look at the previous budget we had was 2.6 with the city of Lancaster. We're finishing the year about 1.2, so we're not spending as much as we had anticipated. So this is a very conservative budget, and we're very cognizant of spending the time and energy on those things that matter to this organization. As we talk in the CEO's report, those things that matter are going to be getting customers and getting offtake, and that's really where our effort's going to be driven to. And your effort is driven to of, you know, not only getting the RFP and getting a available molecule, but then also marketing that and selling that molecule. Anything else is kind of secondary to that. So this budget represents the entire picture, but our effort is going to be focused on that. We've also shared with the city and shared with this board that we are going to be very communicative with the city. Obviously, monthly updates on our progress, and also our monthly updates on our spending, because they are gracious enough to be hosting us. We're going to make sure that we're accountable to them and what we're doing here. But we're excited about the budget. We're excited about becoming completely independent, and I think we have got some momentum underneath us. And with that, I'd answer any questions and take any recommendations.
Do we have any comments or questions from the board?
Yeah, I just find it curious that you have 1.5 million, which is the same as the amount for staff, all for professional services, technical services. I'm not sure what that all is. I'm guessing part of it is the legal staff in one sense. Could you tell us like what fraction of that is like regular operations and what else?
Right.
What else is included?
So we have Bayshore Consulting, who we have is considered in that.
Yeah.
They are handling all of our personnel activities, our budgeting activities, our finance activities. Barbie can jump in. A lot of the behind the scenes administrative activities that are happening. It's obviously been very heavy on that to start. Once you have a budget, right now you're just adding to that budget. Once you have a line of credit, now you just, you only do that once, so to speak. And it relates to personnel policies and things like that. You only do that once. So we've got our personnel attorney in here. We've got our general counsel in here. We're working with Chris, who's a consultant with us. So he's in the professional services side. So there's a number of different things in there. Our business consultant, Shanit's included in that number. So you got a number of different, special consultants listed in there. And that's an alternative to hiring people, frankly. And this allows us to, as the personnel policies get done, well, we don't have to pay anybody to do personnel policies, they're done. So we start layering some of these things off once we get established.
Yeah, it's kind of similar how City of Industry operates. We're kind of a contract city. So we have actually a very small staff considered how big of the city we are. So that keeps our costs, retirement, PERS, everything lower, and we can contract out for the services.
When you look to the flexibility in the budget where we say we have the opportunity not to spend a full budget, a lot of those line items are where that's at. It's capital, professional services. We have direct control over that, not necessarily salaries.
And the other question I had is on the 300K. That is for the demonstration things that you were talking about at the bottom, vehicles and fueling infrastructure?
Right.
That is for demonstrating hydrogen stuff as you go around.
Right. So we have a project specifically that came over with us from Lancaster. It's called the Green Energy Microgrid. It's a partnership between Toyota and Toyota Fuel Cell, the Mariah in the Box.
Yeah.
We're looking at a mobile trailer to actually power that or fuel that facility. And then eventually it's going to be a demonstration and education center. It's a small building we have on our site. It'll be a demonstration and education center about off-grid and hydrogen facilities that, as development starts happening, we sense a lot of people are going to be touring and seeing and needing it. So we're going to be using that as that. And that's a partnership with Toyota. We're looking right now at the procurement of a mobile trailer, which is about 150K, 180, that's probably about 180K. And we have a grant from Antelope Valley Air Quality Management District to fund that. So this budget may not be used, but we have it there just in case, but the grant is available. So it should be far less than this. That's why when we talk about it being conservative, but it gives us the ability to move forward. But as grant money comes in, it won't be spent.
Yeah, is that something we have built, or is that something you could just purchase outright?
So there's two things, yeah. So the trailer is built by a company and then we own it.
Okay.
And it's trailered in a truck and it's, tube, this is like a small tube trailer. The Marana box is a lease with Toyota. It's a $1 lease. It's not a expense, it's a test site or a demonstration. And then we have some interconnections that we've already paid for, some capital project, which is the controller box that controls the systems. And then we'll do some tenant improvements inside the building with that as well. And then we'll own it all, right? And then we won't own the fuel cell, but we'll own the system. And this is also a demonstration as we talk about stationary power for our other members. So when we have Rolling Water District, that Marana box can plug into a water well, right? That's resilience. Or it can, and that fueling station, the mobile refueler, have dual use, so we can actually refuel a fleet with it as well as power that Marana box, so that we have this opportunity to start small with some of our member fleets. Then industry, for example, could have a fleet with this kind of structure engaged. And so we can demonstrate it first and then showcase it.
So this is very much of a demo number, because I looked at it and thought that it seemed really small. But in subsequent budget years, it will be a much bigger number because First Public is going to be involved in transporting the hydrogen from the producer to the end user, right?
That's going to be a big number.
That's going to be a much bigger number.
That'll be a much bigger number, absolutely. And this, again, this is a demonstration. So we didn't budget anything we don't know is going to happen, right?
Okay.
So it's, when we come to you, and this is why we're going to be fluid in this board, but also with the opportunities we have, there may be an agency that says, hey, we want to come and we want to buy 10 of these fueling systems and something, I don't know what could happen. We're going to come for you guys for a budget adjustment, right? And say, oh, we need these funds to be allocated for this. And an associated revenue would be identified with that. So as it relates to the transport of hydrogen, yes, that's going to be a much greater number. And that would be a budget we bring to you, but with the corresponding revenue as well.
And so also along those lines, so the RFP is out, once that goes through the process and you sign offtake agreements with some producers, where is the funding for that in this budget?
Right, so the
Same
way,
answer?
The way it would work is that included in that RFP, right, if you'd say we're going to go buy this molecule, this effort, we're going to contract for the sale of that molecule. In that transaction, there'll be a margin placed on there for our operational expense. And then so that'll track as our revenue. So then that will go with the line of credit, right? So if you picture that bank account, your savings account, you're going to draw down, and then eventually as revenue comes in, you add in there. And it could be revenue a year from now or 2 years from now, but at least you have that visibility if you're not going to get revenue. So then we would track it that way from an accounting perspective.
I have a question. Can you speak a bit about sponsorships and dues and memberships?
Correct, yeah, so sponsorship, dues, and memberships, those are CHBC, and maybe Alexis can give you a better example of what those are specifically.
It's not on for some reason.
Yeah.
Thank you. Happy to do so. Sponsorships, we're a part of a number of organizations, including the California Hydrogen Leadership Summit, the California Hydrogen Business Council. They have a summit each year. We often sponsor that summit. We've also included in this line item some opportunities for community events for our member cities, for us to participate with the community and share what we're doing with each one of these locations. So that covers, and I can go through the list of specific organizations that it covers: the Green Hydrogen Coalition, the California Hydrogen Business Council membership, Fuel Cell Partnership, SDM RNA, and CISA, as well as exploring a transit membership that we can be a part of and join. And we use these memberships for us to get market insight, for us to participate in the industry and learn more information. There's a number of groups that our staff are part of that they meet on a regular basis to discuss.
What about the dues and memberships?
That includes dues and memberships, yes. They are separated, so we track our sponsorships in one line and we track our dues and memberships in another. So dues and memberships include all of the organizations we are a part of, and sponsorship are all of the conferences that we sponsor, as well as community events. Yes.
Does the budget have anything for grants or potential for grants? Are we counting on any grants the moment?
Go ahead.
So we have a financial strategy that we're putting together. This budget is not reflective of any grants. However, we are actively seeking and looking for. As those opportunities arise, we will be back to the board to include those items.
What's the length of this budget? When's it effective till?
This would be July 1st till the end of June.
26?
Yes.
Okay. And then
25,
do we have a mid-year budget meeting too? Okay.
We would envision it's probably monthly. We're going to have our
Okay,
treasurer's
monthly.
report monthly, which you'll see.
Okay.
But we're going to be focused on, because we're using other people's money, we'll be very focused on those reports on a monthly basis to share. So then we'll share those with you as well.
Do we have a grant writer?
Our staff has experience with grants. We have looked at consultants for grant writing. If you have any recommendations on somebody you'd like to see us work with, we're happy to have that conversation. But our staff does have experience as well as Bayshore with grants.
Right, do we have any other questions or comments by the board? Okay, do we have any speaker cards, or is there anybody online who'd like to have public comment?
Lancaster has no speakers.
Chris, if you could come up to the microphone so you're on record there. And then just state your name for the recording.
Is this on? Okay. Chris Wilson. So bring up that League of California Cities is going to accept us as a member as well. So I wanted to put that in there as a list. And I think that would be a great opportunity for us as we're meeting with city officials, transit agencies, to make our presence known and have some validation as an organization in the state of California. So we just confirmed that this week.
Thank you. Okay, if we have no further discussion, can we please, Board Secretary, can you call the vote?
Do we have a motion and a second?
Oh, sorry. Yes, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget.
Second.
So we have a motion by Board Member Peacock and a second by Mr. Brower.
Thank you.
Board Secretary.
I'm sorry. Board Member Peacock,
Aye.
Board Member Madrano,
Aye.
Board Member Hertzberg,
Aye.
Board Member Vasquez,
Aye.
Board Member Brower,
Aye.
Vice Chair Ruggles.
Aye.
Motion carries.
6-0.
6-0, thank you. Item number 6. We have a update from the CEO, Mr. Cottle.
Great, thank you guys. And again, as last week or last month, we can kind of give you an update on our progress and our efforts, but keep it free flowing. I thought it was very productive last week or last month, our ability to communicate together and get insight and kind of share. So it's very important to do that. Couple updates on what we've got going on. So last month we talked about launching the RFP. Well, the RFP has hit the ground. So we did have it extend a week as a result of a request from one of the bidders. So it's going to be due May 20th. So hopefully May 20th, we will have that information or those bids in returned. We have had 53 people take out the responses. So I think we've sent a list to you, and I can let Allison jump in a little bit on it. That we've sent you that list for awareness that we're not out communicating. There are some very specific issues as relates to the competitiveness of the RFP. So we just remind you, that when you're talking to suppliers, be cognizant of that. Obviously, there may be some people that are maybe asking for support, whatever it is. That's probably not the case to do that. So by awareness, if they ask you where you do your barbering, that's cool. You can have conversations with them. But if they're asking about the RFP, probably refrain from that and refer them to the RFP in the process. So we're very, very cognizant on that we have a fair process. We've worked with the criteria for the evaluations. So we worked together that as a team, and I think it was a very unique process to do that with the RFP because it's there's multiple suppliers, there's multiple types, there's technologies, multiple off-takers, so it's a little difficult in identifying the perfect one, but I don't think that's what we're looking for anyway. And then we've identified that the criteria for selection and the people who are going to be on that, but we've got cross-section of city, which was a CCA specifically, which I think is interesting. The CCAs have shown some significant interest in hydrogen from a stationary power perspective. So we have identified a representative partner. 2 transit agencies that we're going to have partner, and 2 from city staff. So keep it small. And then eventually the decision's going to be made by this board on who we select and what those contracts look like. So it's very, very positive approach. Obviously, we won't know until we see, but it's very heartening to know that we have a lot of people of interest and that our message is getting out. So it was very, very positive. As it relates to strategic engagement, so.
Can I ask a quick question? Sorry. Because the 45V is something that may not come through. I think there's even specific legislation that's being proposed right now that eliminates 45V. So with the bids that come in, those that count on 45V and those that don't count, how are you going to handle that?
So in the RFP, we've identified, is the price you're bidding determined by federal funds? Whether that be ARCHES funds, 45V, ITC, PTC, whatever those tax incentives are.
Right.
We've kind of identified, check the box, which it'll make us aware, right? Is that the price may not be legitimate depending on what happens in July or whenever it happens.
Okay.
There may be challenges with that price. So awareness is one, right? That doesn't necessarily disqualify you either. It just makes us aware that we're dealing with those situations.
I think we must know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How do we figure it out otherwise?
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
And there's some technologies, as you know, that aren't benefiting by 45V potentially, or don't have a lesser impact. Let me put it that way. So I don't think it's a killer for the industry. I don't think it's a killer for our RFP, but it's definitely something we need to be disclosed at the early process.
Okay.
And I was just going to add too, if 45V goes away, there's still tax credits that may stay that can be applicable to hydrogen. I mean, 45Z, it just has to be able to be used as a transportation fuel, not necessarily actually used, just have the potential to be. And then 45Q for some technologies. So it'd be important to differentiate probably a little bit like which tax credits are involved or are part of the bid price.
And part of what we're doing is going to be in the process of selection is going to be, there's not everybody's going to get interviewed, but there's opportunity for interview and conversation about the project specifically, and that's where a lot of these details are going to be coming out.
You said you had 53. Did you guys have any idea of, out of the 53, that you were going to get that many, or were you surprised about the amount, or who came and who hasn't come?
I think we were surprised. I mean, I don't know if everybody was surprised. You guys saw the list too.
It was a great list, really good list.
But you don't know you're going to get responses from all 53.
Fair enough. Okay. Fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, it would be a great list. I hope we actually get all those. That would be great.
I think so, and I think it sends the message that we are literally what we had identified as this organization doing, that everybody's participating. We're a non-competitive, we're trying to build a marketplace. So if you look at that list, having everybody on that list potentially wanting to partner with us was really good news, frankly. And so we hope they participate. So when you look at where we're going next, right, as we continue tracking down this startup, which we are, is you have the opportunity, we got the RFP, which is going to give us pricing and projects. The next push is a very strategic effort to gain members and to market molecules. And that's where we had a little bit of conversation last week, and the board gave us some insight. We're developing that marketplace now, or that strategic plan now as it relates to outreach. And I think the keys to that, and you guys are going to be part of this, is identifying the real from not real, right? Who's buying molecules today and who do we need to get to today? Focusing our efforts on those who have the greatest need. We have identified those through a number of different mechanisms. And so we're still identifying those, and also strategic ways to access, right? And how to communicate with them so that we understand the scale of what demand is, as well as the availability of the fuel. So it's really kind of a matchmaking effort that we're going to be doing. This includes transit, ports, trucking companies, some stationary power that's existing demand. So we're going to be actively outreaching at that level. Our goal is to transact as soon as we can. So we want to make sure that could be with people who have existing supply. We've envisioned the need for long-term scaled green or long-term scaled new production. But we also believe that there's an opportunity for existing production that we can capture and start moving quickly. So we're going to be looking at both those opportunities, and then looking at those off-takers who have long-term demand as well as short-term need, trying to merge those together. So we have very strategic on that. You guys are included in that. And I think we've started that with some of the individual meetings we've had already, kind of reaching out to you and getting it on a regular basis, saying, and when we get that strategic plan done, we're gonna reach out to you and say, here's our list. What's the best way you guys can get engaged in solving that or, merging that gap? So we'll be engaging you heavily in that strategic process. Any other thoughts? Add to that? So it's the marketing, and the other side of that too is now the contract. So when you look at, as we're tracking, we're trying to think all this stuff through as we're moving, right? Is you've got the price, you've got the offtake, now you've got the contractual relationship. So we're engaging, when you look at some of those professional service numbers, we're engaging a hydrogen attorney, procurement attorney to work on the structure of these contracts. We have sample contracts, but actually getting engaged with attorneys to figure out how to structure these deals and potentially help negotiate them as well. So we're engaging in that. Yes.
There is a new NASB hydrogen contract that was released, so.
Oh, that'd be great. If you have access to it,
I'll
share
send
it.
that on, yeah.
Fantastic. And it's those kind of things where we're trying to look at, trying to standardize this so we make it simple. But at the same token, we know it's going to be a process. So we're working down that because you start getting into some tedious stuff as it relates to starting to negotiate, hopefully, a number of contracts. And then transportation, so as part of that, so when we look at the problems we're solving for folks, right, we started with the problem of aggregation and the market dynamics, and the contracting, the procurement, and all those problems we're solving for. We're also solving that transportation problem and the price, right? So the next question I ask is, what's the price of molecule? May 20th, we'll have a sense of that, or we'll be evaluating them. Then the next question would be, how much does it cost to move? So Chris was one of our consultants to be working on identifying what that indicative pricing looks like to transport, and then working at either that through the RFP or secondarily through other mechanisms. But we'll have that price, so we'll hopefully have a real price that we can identify how much is the molecule, how much does it cost to transport. So that effort is going on as we speak as well. That's still a missing piece.
Do you see many of the producers providing transportation, or are they offering those services part of their RFP?
I think there are going to be two different, we look at. One is going to be existing production. Those agencies that have existing production have existing transportation, and that'd be ideal, right? We want to partner with them to try to do that. Those who are new production, right, that are not the typical, the existing IGs, the industrial gas companies, those are probably going to where we provide that service of delivery for the new producers, and we'll see what we get. But those are going to be long, and we have time, because those new producers aren't going to produce overnight. Right. They're going to be a year or two out.
Right. All right. Did Allison have anything she wanted to add?
Yes, the one thing I wanted to add as a reminder, consistent with my email to you all, maybe last week, that we are in this RFP process. And so it is important, in order to ensure both the appearance of fairness and actual fairness among bidders, that board members and staff refrain from communications regarding the RFP or procurement with any of those potential bidders that were listed in the email I sent to you. I can put that list up on the screen if anyone wants to see it. But that was my one reminder and update for you all, is we are in this RFP process, and until we award, we need to be cognizant and careful in our communications.
We have a week left on that? We extended it a week?
Yeah.
So there's still potential of somebody else coming?
We could have new names, yes, and we'll let you know if that occurs.
Okay, perfect. All right. There's no further discussion on that. We'll move to public comment.
Oh, a couple more things before you
go
get there,
ahead.
sorry. We had a conversation about the 45V. Just know that we're monitoring that. We've been reaching out to our legislative groups to support, or no, I shouldn't say, to not support 45V. When you look at the legislation, so it was the part of the tax code where they're talking about no tax on tips and Social Security, and there's one little line in page 400 of that says 45V is eliminated. So getting traction, I guess, is going to be difficult, but nonetheless, we're tracking it with our legislators. In Lancaster specifically, we have George Whitesides, who's been fantastic as a Dem. We've been reached out to Vince Fong's office, who's just north of us in Lancaster. So if you have access to those legislators, I know they're getting bombarded by everybody, but if the opportunity comes around, just, show lean support towards hydrogen and the hydrogen infrastructure that we're all obviously working forward to. So and I know you guys are engaged in. If you have any other insights, that would be great. I know I talked to Jack a little bit about 45V doesn't eliminate everybody, right? There's still opportunities in different technologies to make hydrogen, and the demand is still there to use hydrogen. So I think we're safe, but at the end of the day, the green hydrogen is really where we all want to be. Right? And then future marketing and everything, we've got conferences coming up. Chris and Paul were very well represented at ACT Expo, so we've got not only a lot of leads, but a lot of outreach from that effort. We'll be very strongly represented June 3rd and 4th in Sacramento, and I think some of you are going to be there. So we've got, I think, Alexis speaking, so she'll be part of a panel. So we're getting outreach there. And then the Global Hydrogen Energy Transition Summit is Jack, Lorraine, and I will be attending too. That's in June 30th in July. Actively outreaching, actively marketing, and when we get some price, we're going to be even more actively marketing. So,
Jason, I may also want to attend that as well.
Which one's that, Bob?
One in Sacramento, the conference.
On June 4th, 3rd?
Yeah, was it June 3rd, 4th, something? I think I have it on my calendar.
Okay, great.
I'll be there. I'll be there if you don't. I'll be sitting in a swimming pool, hanging out with Nesto.
Great. So we'll be very well represented there, and I think there's a lot of interest in what we're doing. And I think once we have some pricing and some molecules available, we're going to start really getting some momentum, which is good. So thank you, guys.
All right. Then we'll move to public comment. Do we have anybody online or in person in Lancaster? I don't think.
Lancaster has no speakers.
Okay.
None online.
Yes, yeah, please. Please, just come to the microphone. State your name and then come to the microphone, please.
Michael Lewis in Tuverity. On the, and this is not really a question for the bid form, so I just want to clarify something. So the question is very simple, yes or no. And I think as Tanya pointed out, Commissioner Peacock, there are multiple different credits. And obviously, even in the original law, there were anti-stacking provisions. So if one goes away, there's an opportunity to take others. And I think 45Z is a great example where the potential of hydrogen fuel at liquid is probably about 25 cents a kilogram. So somebody might answer yes. That might not be specific to 45V. Is what is basically what I'm saying. So.
All righty. If we have no more public comment, we can move to board member questions and comments. Any of the board members have any public comment or questions? No? Bob? Bob has nothing to say?
Bob must have something to say.
Well, I've got a speech prepared here, but we don't have enough time. I'm good, though. Thank you kindly. I deeply apologize to the members for being late. I thought I had time, but,
No worries.
a lot of trucks on the road from moving all that debris.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any requests from the board for future agenda items? None? Okay. Well, that will adjourn this meeting. The next.
Can I say something, Jason? I just wanted, I know that we saw something earlier with respect to Lorraine Pasquette, but I just wanted to give you gigantic kudos for landing her because she's such an extraordinary asset. Knows the knowledge. She's been involved from the city to San Francisco to other private companies to Air Products and the like. And I think she's going to be just an extraordinary help to the team.
Yeah, thanks for that, Bob. We all agree completely, so.
It was nice of you guys also to put together a press release and to let people know, and appreciated the opportunity to make a comment. So thank you.
Okay. No further discussion. Our next regular meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, June 18th, 2025 at 2 p.m. here in City of Industry or Lancaster. Thank you.